I was walking past this bar the other day, and they had like 20 different ciders on tap. 20.
Wow.
It just made me realize like how much cider has really kind of blown up recently. It's not just like grabbing like a can of, whatever at the store anymore. There's like a whole world of craft cider out there. And it got me thinking about like who are the people behind these really unique and complex flavors. So today we are taking a deep dive into the world of the cider master. We're going way beyond just like, oh, it's like wine but with apples.
Yeah, it's so interesting how how overlooked the craft of cider making and cider, the craftsmanship can be. People talk about sommeliers and brew masters, but cider masters, they have their own unique expertise. It really deserves, its own moment in the spotlight.
Right. And we have got this really awesome career guide from RoleCatcher. And let me tell you, it is dense. But don't worry, we're going to break it down
Right.
and we're going to pull out all of the most interesting nuggets for you.
Yeah, think of us as your like cider-loving Sherpas, guiding you through all the peaks and valleys of this career path.
I love it. All right, so let's unpack this a little bit. So
Yeah.
the guide really emphasizes that a cider master isn't just, sort of like brewing in a barn somewhere. They're involved in like every single stage of the process, from orchard to bottle.
Absolutely. It's a much more holistic role than I think, a lot of people might realize. And this guide even mentions that, cider masters are experimenting with fruit blends, barrel aging, even cider-based cocktails. Like it's way more than just apples and yeast these days.
Cider cocktails. You know what? Now that you mention it, I have seen some interesting concoctions popping up.
Yeah.
So the guide also talks about how cider masters like really use their sense of smell and taste throughout the production process. They're not just like, looking at a spreadsheet. They're really using all of their senses to kind of refine those flavors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that blend of scientific precision and sensory artistry that I find just so fascinating about it. I mean, this guide mentions that cider masters even use their sense of smell to assess the fermentation process. Like they're detecting these subtle nuances that could indicate, potential issues or opportunities for tweaking the recipe.
Wow, so it's like being a perfumer, but for your taste buds.
Exactly.
That's so cool. But it's not all about aroma, right? I mean, this guide also kind of dives deep into the technical aspects of cider making as well.
Oh, absolutely. The guide really emphasizes like a deep understanding of fermentation science is crucial. Like cider masters are essentially microbial farmers. They're cultivating yeast and bacteria to achieve specific flavor profiles. They're manipulating variables like temperature, pH levels, even oxygen exposure to influence the final product.
It's incredible how much like science goes into each sip.
It really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's this delicate dance between like art and science. And from what I'm gathering in this guide, the demand for skilled cider masters, it's growing right alongside the industry.
That's right. The guide cites it's at a projected market growth of over 7% annually for like the next 5 years. And they specifically highlight, the increasing demand for cider masters with expertise in organic and biodynamic practices, which, really reflects that larger consumer trend towards sustainable and ethically sourced products.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. Like people are more conscious than ever, I think, about what they're consuming. And that definitely extends to their cider choices too. But it's not just about sustainability. This guide also mentions like a rising interest in cider styles that go beyond those traditional methods.
It's true. Yeah, the guide points to a growing demand for ciders aged in like bourbon barrels. Ciders infused with fruits like quince and elderflower, even spiced with ingredients like ginger and cardamom.
Okay, now we're talking. This guide is making me seriously rethink like my cider game.
Mm.
But with all of these exciting developments, I imagine like the competition to become a cider master, it's got to be pretty fierce.
Oh, absolutely. It's a highly specialized field, no doubt. And this guide stresses the importance of both formal education and hands-on experience.
Okay, so it's not just about loving cider. You need the credentials to back it up. This guide has a whole section dedicated to like the education and training that aspiring cider masters should consider, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the guide recommends a combination of formal brewing science programs, apprenticeships with established cider makers,
Right.
and even like specialized courses on topics like sensory analysis and orchard management. Yeah, it's definitely not just about, having a finely tuned palate or anything. The guide really stresses like the importance of building that strong foundation in the science of fermentation, orchard management, even like business skills if you're considering starting your own cider house one day.
Oh, wow. And speaking of starting your own business, I mean, that's like a whole other level of cider mastery right there. This guy does not shy away from like the entrepreneurial aspects of the field, does it?
Not at all, no. It actually dedicates like a whole section to the challenges and rewards of launching like a craft cider business,
Yeah.
really highlighting the need for a strong business plan, marketing savvy, and like a deep understanding of the legal and regulatory landscape too.
Wow, so there's that blend of art and like entrepreneurship again. But beyond like, the business side of things, I'm curious about just like the day-to-day realities of actually being a cider master. Like this guide mentions that it can be pretty physically demanding work.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely not a desk job. The guide describes, long days on your feet, hauling heavy equipment, working in environments with fluctuating temperatures, potential hazards. You definitely need a certain level of like physical stamina to handle the demands of a cider house, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you need to be as tough as the apples themselves.
Yeah.
What else kind of surprised you about like the work environment described in this guide?
One thing that really stood out to me was the emphasis on problem solving and adaptability. Because like cider fermentation, it's a living process, right?
Mhm.
So unexpected challenges can pop up at like any stage. The guide gives examples of cider masters needing to like troubleshoot equipment malfunctions, adjust recipes on the fly due to like variations in apple crops, even deal with unexpected weather events impacting their orchards.
Wow, so you really need to be resourceful and able to think on your feet. It's not just about, following a recipe. You kind of have to understand the science deeply enough to adapt and innovate when you need to.
Absolutely, yeah. The guy describes cider masters as like part scientist, part artist, part detective,
Hmm.
constantly analyzing, experimenting, refining their craft. It's really that combination of skills that I find so captivating about the whole profession.
Yeah, it's like they're solving like a delicious puzzle with every single batch.
Right.
But speaking of resources, this whole deep dive into the world of cider masters, it's got me thinking about RoleCatcher again. I mean, their platform sounds like, honestly, like an incredible tool for anyone who's serious about, pursuing this career path.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine being an aspiring cider master and having access to RoleCatcher's database of like job postings specifically tailored to the brewing industry. You
Yeah.
can see, which companies are hiring, what skills they're looking for, even get insights into like salary ranges.
Oh, totally. And remember that cool tool we were talking about earlier, RoleCatcher.capture? Imagine using that to like snag job postings from, craft cideries all over the country,
Mm.
and then using like RoleCatcher's AI-powered resume builder to like tailor your application to each specific opportunity.
It's like having a personalized career assistant, helping you put your best foot forward. Instead of just like sending out generic applications, you could use RoleCatcher's insights to like highlight the specific skills and experience that align with each cider house's unique needs.
Right. Work smarter, not harder. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask, what like stood out to you most about RoleCatcher? I feel like there's so much to unpack there.
Honestly, it's just the holistic approach to career development that I find really impressive.
Hmm.
It's not just about, matching people with jobs. It's about providing the tools and resources to make like really informed decisions about your career trajectory.
Totally. I totally agree. Like it's about empowering individuals to really take control of their, professional destinies, whether that's becoming, a master cider maker or pursuing any other passion. But let's circle back to the Cider Masters for a second. This guide that we've been exploring, like, it goes beyond just the technical skills. It really delves into like, the personal qualities that contribute to success in a field like this.
Absolutely. One thing the guide really emphasizes is just the importance of passion, perseverance, a genuine, love for the craft.
Right. And that makes sense. Like, you're probably not going to thrive in a role like this if you're not truly excited by, the world of cider. It's like that spark,
Yeah.
that spark of excitement, that drive to create something really special. And it really shines through. Like in the Cider Masters I've, been lucky enough to meet. This guide even mentions like a few cider masters who like started out as homebrewers, just like experimenting in their kitchens before, they turned their passion into an actual profession.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, sometimes the most fulfilling career paths, they really do begin with that, like simple curiosity, that desire to learn and experiment. This guide actually highlights a few online forums and communities that are dedicated to cider making. And it kind of suggests that, connecting with other enthusiasts can be like really invaluable for anyone, just starting their journey.
Right. So it's not just about like what you know, it's about who you know, or at least, who you can learn from. Well, this guide has given us so much to think about, from like, the actual science of fermentation to the art of like blending these incredible flavors,
Yeah.
and even just like, the business savvy that you need to actually like run a successful cider house.
It's been a true deep dive into, a world that's like often overlooked, but I mean, it's full of these fascinating complexities.
It really has.
Yeah.
And, after exploring all of this with you, I'm starting to think that, like, a glass of cider will never taste quite the same again.
I think you're right. Next time you find yourself with a cider in hand, just like take a moment to really appreciate the artistry, the science, the sheer passion that went into, crafting that unique flavor profile.
Yeah, it's like a whole sensory adventure,
Totally.
just waiting to be, like, uncovered. And who knows, maybe this deep dive has inspired, some future cider masters out there to, like, really take the plunge and pursue their own cider dreams. And if you are out there feeling inspired, remember that, RoleCatcher has a ton of resources to help you navigate your career journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, whether you're drawn to, the world of craft beverages or any other field that, sparks your curiosity, platforms like RoleCatcher can provide really valuable guidance and support along the way.
That's right. It's all about finding your passion and, like, pursuing it, full on. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of the Cider Master. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.